Hi, good afternoon. It's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. Guys, as was promised, Earth health at a glance. We've got a few changes. Obviously, there's a couple extra sunspots. I think there should be 3 numbered regions. We'll have a look at that a bit later on. As you can see, the muons are up a little bit. Background radiation has dropped a bit. Atmospheric CO2 has dropped slightly from 428 to 412. Atmospheric oxygen still at 21%, give or take a few either way. Pretty much all looking good. The latest earthquake, and obviously that's in the last 24 hours, as you can see, is a 5.9 in the northern mid-Atlantic ridge region. We'll have a look at that as well a bit later on in the video, because they're saying it's mid-Atlantic. I think it's southern Atlantic, but you know, we'll leave that for you to decide. I don't think there's a lot in it, but it is in that region where we have started to focus a bit of activity and attention with regards to what is going on with the South Atlantic anomaly. So if we're seeing earthquakes along the mid-Atlantic ridge, we know that there's some activity, possibly volcanic activity, and if that's the case, then maybe it's related to that South Atlantic anomaly. And for those that don't know what we're talking about with the South Atlantic anomaly, it's the lowest magnetic intensity on our planet right now. So muons slightly up from, where are we? Muons 512, we're at 594, so a slight increase in that, despite there being slightly less background radiation. Now, you know, we take a background radiation with a Geiger counter. Background radiation includes a lot of different things, and you know, more specifically when we're using the muon detector, we're just focusing on muons, but background radiation involves a lot of other things: protons, neutrons, you know, gamma, alpha, beta, all those sorts of different types of radiation. And you would expect that to be on the increase as well if we're seeing a slight increase in the muons, but not always the case. We're probably going to be getting more muons because when a cosmic ray collides with an upper atmospheric molecule, it smashes it, and then that in turn smashes into other things and other things and other things, and you get like a cascade effect of like rain of muons. So you're going to see more muons than you are, you know, of the larger particles or the larger elementary particles. So yeah, at a glance, there's the details. Is there something we've not covered? Geomagnetic field is quiet, as we would expect during a grand solar minimum. X-rays normal. The jet streams still unsettled. We'll have a little look at those a bit later on in the video, and let's get on with why we want to have a look right now at what's going on with the solar activity. So let's do that. So what's the deal then, Gene, with the solar activity? Well, as you can see, there is 2 numbered regions, 2779 and 2778, but there is actually 3 sunspots. But I've decided to just add on the Earth health at a glance the numbered regions so we don't get confused. You can clearly see that there is 3 sunspots, and they're probably separated by, you know, tens of thousands of miles apart each one. But what's the big deal then? Well, they're still not equatorial despite us being in a solar minimum. And even NASA, I can show you their videos where they go into explanation of how we know when the sun's in its solar minimum and maximum, regardless of the 11-year cycles. They're not equatorial, are they? They're almost in the same positions of where you would expect them to be during solar maximum. So what's going on with our sun right now? Why isn't it predictable like it has been for many, many other years? Why are we seeing, you know, sunspots at 30 to 60 degrees south or north, as opposed to equatorial? Why is that? Let's have a look and just see what happens during solar maximum, solar minimum, so you get a good idea. So we're over at Pole Shift News. If you want to go over there, we've got live solar data updated every day, as well as lots of other data. But let's go down to the sunspots during solar maximum, solar minimum, so you get a good idea. Well, here you go. July 19, 2000, and then we've got March on the right hand side showing us a solar minimum. But as you can see, during solar maximum there's lots of sunspots, and they're scattered from the equatorial region, both over the northern and southern hemispheres of the solar disk. During solar minimum, if we do get sunspots, and because we've gone so far into a grand solar minimum, we're hardly getting any during solar minimum, we would expect to see them around the equatorial region. Let's just see if I can find that video description of what NASA say about sunspots during solar maximum, solar minimum, so you get a good idea. So here we are on the Learning Centre, on our dedicated website to, you know, pole shift and other anomalies like solar activity. You can see that this video that's in the Learning Centre has been created or, you know, published by NASA, and they're talking about solar cycles, and you can see 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, lots of activity, and we're looking at solar maximum. So please, NASA, explain to the general public what is taking place with our sun right now. Why are we in solar minimum at the end of solar cycle 24, yet we are seeing sunspots in the maximum regions of the disk at 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south? What's going on? It's not just, you know, a magnetic pole reversal. It is a solar cycle which is out of sync with where the positions of the sunspots are. I think you'll agree with me. When we was looking at the disk in the other clip, you would agree that they are around the 30 degrees south mark, which should only be the case if sunspots are, if the solar cycle is in a maximum. So what's going on? Something else that even the solar physicists at NASA cannot explain or refuse to at this given time. There is something definitely abnormal about where we are right now in regards to time and the anomalies that are taking place. And this is serious, guys, because when we're not getting a lot of solar activity, and we've seen the solar activity drop off over the last 33 years, the last 3 cycles, we've also seen, and we all understand through the study of our solar system, that when we see a reduction in sunspot activity and solar storm activity, that the heliosphere shrinks, and that in turn allows galactic cosmic radiation inbound in our solar system, and that puts more pressure on our already weakening magnetosphere, which is our primary defensive from cosmic rays. So, you know, we are facing a double compilation of radiation right now as a result of these 2 anomalies coinciding with each other at this point in time, and that's not good, because that is what is leading to the dramatic climatic changes that we're experiencing right now. And this is just typical, isn't it? I've already published on the website the largest earthquake in the last 24 hours, and within the space of about 30 minutes there's been an earthquake, as you can see in neon, which is bordering Greece and Turkey, of 7.0. So, you know, okay, we've recorded the one at 5.9 on the mid-Atlantic ridge, northern, and, you know, now looking at it, it is only just above the equatorial region, so we'll give them that. What we're interested is more southerly mid-Atlantic ridge earthquakes, and the reason for that is we want to know whether that region is active, and, you know, is that the cause of splitting the mid-Atlantic anomaly right now in that region. But there you go, a 7.0 earthquake within the last few minutes of doing this video, and you can see it's on the Greece-Turkey border region of neon. So, taking a quick look at the jet streams, I wanted to just point out, you know, if we look around the equatorial region of the jet streams, it's not completely uncommon, but it is unusual to see, you know, jet streams coming from the northern hemisphere across the equatorial region into the southern hemisphere and vice versa. But if we look around the globe today, We can see a couple of incidences where this is happening. But in general, just look at how our jet streams look. Look at the width of the jet streams, the length of the jet streams. We're talking super jet streams, and this is what's causing all the problems around the world, such as in Vietnam with the flash floods or the cyclones, you know, that they've experienced already this month. In October, 4 cyclones, you know, displacing hundreds of thousands of people, wiping out hundreds of hectares of, you know, agricultural land. Not just hundreds of hectares, hundreds of thousands of hectares. You know, in countries like this, their staple foods are rice. Destroyed. You know, they won't be exporting rice, they'll be importing rice. You know, I know a lot of us over here in the West, you know, we gripe about what we're being put under, you know, with COVID-19 and all those regulations, and I say this in every video, and I feel like I've got to make this disclaimer. If we're going to talk about COVID-19, it is regardless of whether, you know, the actual virus exists. You would expect common cold anyhow to increase from now till, you know, the end of winter. In any case, and what we're seeing right now is almost an exponential increase, and we're going to have a look at that shortly, at the rates of which COVID-19 is increasing in several countries for comparison. But the policies are right. And you know, I've got to say this, guys, you know, eventually our governments have got to make a decision, and if they are being honest, they've got to call it. They've got to say, in my viewpoint, we cannot no longer sustain damage to the global economy. It doesn't matter what country you're in, we just can't do it. And people are getting tired now. For the most of this year, businesses have been in negative profit. And we're talking thousands of businesses. Some businesses were not able to weather out the storm to this point, and they've already gone bankrupt. You know, that has led to people losing their jobs, people losing their houses, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of people being affected by these policies and implications. But you've got to understand, we can't sacrifice the global economy over this incident. And inevitably these world governments have got to come to some decision on this. I think you'll agree with me. There is a lot of suspicion in the whole business of this COVID-19. I've got to say this, especially what is now being commonly broadcasted by mainstream media, and I'm talking specifically about the immunity. Now, anyone that has studied biology, even undergraduate levels, would know that once you have had a virus and got over that virus, you have natural defences against that virus. But what they're saying is that that's not the case. The immunity wears off after a couple of months. And what does that mean? You can catch then, according to what they're saying, COVID-19 multiple times. And this goes against the grain of biology and the anatomy of the human body completely. So we're dealing with, an alien virus at the moment. If that's the case, it is completely new. There is never going to be a cure for it, even if they have a vaccine tomorrow, if that is the case. Because what the vaccine will give you is the dead antibodies, so that your antibodies will recognise the dead antibodies as well as the live antibodies and give you an immunity to it. So if they're saying after a couple of months your immune system weakens again against coronavirus, then you're going to catch it multiple times, which means we cannot cure it. Which means that no matter how much the government spend on a vaccine, it is never going to be successful. And if we know that at this point, if what they're saying is true, and we know it at this point, then we may as well just carry on as business as usual, protecting those vulnerable people as best we can, but in turn allowing society to carry on as normal. I think most of you would agree with me on this. We haven't even got through 1 million people in the country having coronavirus here in the UK. Just Look at the statistics for wherever you are at the moment: Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter. They're all about the same when you take the percentage at the population amounts. The amount of people that have had coronavirus fluctuates between 1% and 2%. We've got a long way to go to get herd immunity, and what they're saying is it's never going to be achieved. So what is the point in these lockdowns and these tier 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5s? What's the point? You can't cure, and you haven't got a vaccine, and even if you had a vaccine tomorrow, it would be pointless in 2 months' time, according to what you're saying. And that is, of course, unless you're telling us all a pack of lies, which is more likely to be the case. Don't you find it coincidental that, during the winter time, common cold goes up in any case? People die of pneumonia every year in the tens of thousands, and have done all the time. You look at the cancer rates compared to the deaths of COVID-19, you find that more people in your country have died of cancer than they have of COVID-19. Even the department for pandemics passed it over to the government here in the UK because it wasn't considered serious enough for them to be involved, and therefore they let the local governments and the main government, central government, take charge of this incident. And isn't it another coincidence that can you just imagine you need an excuse to print off money to balance the book sheets? COVID-19 is the knight in shining armour for all the pigs at the trough, the hoity-toity, eaten, gravy dribbling off their chin people. We're talking about a very small minority of people that are telling us at the moment to isolate, not go to work, shut your business down, take the financial losses. At the same time, they are multimillionaires. They have cellars full of Cristal champagne and caviar, and they've got gravy dribbling off the chins, and financially they won't be affected by lockdowns or in any other way. They won't be affected. It's only the middle class and the poor that are taking the blunt of this, and we're paying the price. And as a result, you won't believe this, guys, these rich people are benefiting from it. Anyhow, I could go on about this, guys, but you all understand what's going on. And if you're like me, you're getting a bit tired of this, but let's use some common sense with regard to all this. I think if the government used some common sense, that is exactly what they would do. They would announce to people that we cannot control it, we haven't got a vaccine for it, we could spend the entire wealth of the country's GDP trying to come up with a vaccine, but there's no evidence that we're ever going to cure this. We have at this point no other alternative but to save people's assets, their dwindling financial pots, and allow things to just rip. I'm sorry, you might think I'm cruel, but given the situation of the way things are going, there doesn't seem any point in any of these lockdowns to me, other than to control people and steal the human rights of them, and to stop people opposing and overthrowing governments through protest. Again, COVID-19 is a knight in shining armour for the elites, and they seem to be utilising it very well. Guys, we're almost at the end of the month, and usually I've got to say this, I really don't know sometimes how we manage to carry on here. I think it's got to be more than coincidental that we eventually bob up and have a little bit of a gasp of air because a few people have put in a few books. Like last month, we had a couple of people that put £500 in to keep us going at the Observatory, and we have lost a couple of big supporters this month that regularly support us. So now is the time to get behind our observatory. As you can see with the Earth Health at a glance, we use our own equipment to, record the data and relay it to you. We're not speculating on anything. It is all been by the means of scientific method, and that is putting equipment out there in the field, recording the data that you collect, and then analysing that data and relaying it to those people that are concerned about these matters. I've always said this, we do more than any other YouTube channel, and I don't think that there's a website like quite ours that covers the amount of anomalies that does, and the reason for that majority is because we've got our own equipment. But we've also got our own link down there where you can help support us, and it would be just great if a few more people, during this difficult time of Christmas in any case, but during this time of all this legislation as a result of COVID-19, a few more people stepping forward and securing our continuity for the future at the observatory. That's what it's about, getting through this rough period of time and coming out at the end of it. So if you're interested in supporting what we do, you believe what we do is well worthwhile, and you can afford to, the links are down there, guys. Please support what we do, because 7,000 people come to our website every week and view this, and the majority of them sadly just overlook the fact that there's a button there you can press and make a donation. And despite me saying it in every video, there's a link down there and you can help support us, a lot of people sadly walk away. And like I say, we're in one of those times where we need it more than we ever did. So the links are down there, and I will not go on any more about this. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you've got something out of it. I hope that you're aware of what's going on in your world, and you want to continue to be interested in what takes place in your world. And if so, we'll be here for you over the coming weeks. So yeah, enjoy your day. It's Friday, end of the week. We're almost at the end of the month, and look after your loved ones. I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.